Today's video is sponsored by PIXILART. For all you art enthusiasts, dive into PIXILART, the ultimate platform for artists eager to showcase your masterpieces. PIXILART is a free web-based pixel art creation platform, and their latest mobile app update is now live and ready to enhance your artistic journey. Physics. We all know it, we all love it. Terraria has pretty standard ways of getting around your world. There are double jumps, fast boots, wings, and several ways to dash about the map. Today, we're overhauling the entire system with the movement style of a game called Ultrakill. This means we can slide infinitely, have a dash that also functions as a dodge, a counterattack, and that we fall at stupidly fast speeds. But before you think this is going to be too easy, this mod also makes it so healing potions and health regen doesn't work. The only way I can heal is by getting up close and personal. So let's see how we're going to go about beating this game in the style of Ultrakill. Now, when I started with this mod, I actually hadn't even read the mod description, which is not the smartest thing to do. This means I won't discover some things I mentioned in the intro until later in the run. Now, normally you would immediately start chopping some trees, and although I did do that, I first needed to configure the controls. This was actually kind of challenging since there are several controls you want to have quick access to with this mod, but the vanilla hotkeys take several slots you'd want to give to your movement. Once I got that figured out, I headed underground where I found a magic mirror, but after dying, I went to the left to explore the surface. This is also when I discovered I could slide infinitely, and doing that was faster than if I had Hermes boots. This alone made this mod super fun. Turns out you're also immune to fall damage, even without a horseshoe, and I actually started to think of this mod as a quality of life mod because of this. The living trees on the left didn't have anything worthwhile. I collected some cactus in the desert a little further down, and then there was the jungle. Because of how easily I was able to get there, I suppose I thought that raiding the jungle would be a good idea, and, well, it was, since I found a cloud in the bottle. This accessory is the single best accessory you could ask for with this mod, or I guess its variants might be even better, but whatever, you get the point. Turns out, using the dash this mod gives you will actually reset your cloud in a bottle, and later on I'd learned that it also resets other movement accessories, but this means that with a little precision, I already basically had infinite flight time. I finally built some houses at spawn and started going to the right. Here I learned of what is actually a bug in this mod. See, you have what basically amounts to a ground pound. When you're in the air, you can fall faster using this while also dealing damage to any enemy below you. Turns out, if you use rope, you can activate the ground pounds to start falling, and if you catch yourself on the rope before hitting the ground, the momentum carries over. So if you do this 2 or 3 times, you can launch yourself into space at Mach speed. And I used this method to get a shiny red balloon, which only made my cloud in the bottle all the more powerful, well, I guess after I found the Goblin Tinkerer. Anyways, further to the right was the tundra, and I got water walking boots in the ocean. Water walking boots are normally a nice accessory, but being able to glide across lakes without needing to stop sliding is even more handy. Since I made it to the right ocean, I decided I might as well go to the left one and found a fledgling staff along the way. The world hasn't given me any nice natural caves to use either, so I started mining straight down and found a glowing mushroom biome, which is always a welcome sight to see. I found some life crystals and gravitation potions down there, and although I could technically use the mod for infinite flight, I wasn't good enough at it yet to really do that, and making a bunch of rope cannons wouldn't be practical, so I figured I'd just use gravitation potions when this happened.
Off we go into the wild blue. You can't use gravitation potions.
Back to the jungle, I guess. Now that I finally had armor, I figured I'd be able to survive long enough to collect the materials needed for a blade of grass, which is probably my favorite pre-hard mode weapon. It was while I was down there, though, that I discovered that natural regen and healing potions didn't work. Yeah, I've been playing this mod for a few hours, and I never even realized this. I experimented a little to figure out how the healing system worked, since you have to deal damage to recover health. But you can't just hide in a hole and shoot your bow and pistol to heal. You have to be face to face with your enemy. Basically, only true melee will heal you, and even still, if your true melee sword is too big, you could still be too far away to receive any of the healing benefits. So of course, melee is highly encouraged for this mod, and summons, even if you stood right next to the enemy you hit, didn't seem to do anything for my health. Though I guess summoner could work with whips. But mage and ranger need to get a bit too close for comfort. With this in mind, I decided to fight the first boss, the Eye of Cthulhu. I didn't even make an arena because I thought that the fight shouldn't be that hard. The infinite sliding I could do is faster than the eye could move, so I could run easy circles around it. So I tried that, focusing primarily on staying away from the eye and shooting it from afar, and this seemed to work pretty well. It also did get hit by a star, which sure helped make things move faster. With the eye down, I got the Shield of Cthulhu, since I'm doing this run in expert mode, and you might think I wouldn't equip it since I get several free dashes, but I thought I would equip it anyways. Now I would have an extra dodge as well as an option as to which dash I would use. The Shield of Cthulhu's main weakness is that you bounce back after hitting an enemy, and this can lead to you dying. But now I can use it only when it's safe and rely on the mod's other dashes whenever I needed to. I would end up getting rid of the shield for other accessories later, but it was okay. I still didn't get the Blade of Grass though, so I returned to the jungle, and although I got enough materials, I forgot to craft it. Instead, I went to make the slime crown and used the blood butcherer against the king slime. And this is when I came across a rather game-changing discovery. At first, I play the king slime on the edges, keeping just a little distance between me and him to avoid taking damage. But then I realized that I recovered my health pretty fast after taking damage and thought, what if I just ran directly into him? Could he outdamage my healing? Turns out, the answer was no. I could simply stand still and take out the slime, no problem. But that was King Slime. What about the brain of Cthulhu? Well, turns out the same applied to him. A light bulb went off in my head as I began to realize how easily I could take down several, if not all, of Terraria's bosses. I just had to deal consistent, close-range damage. I killed the brain again to get Crimson Armor, which I know its set bonus is extra health regen, which means it's basically meaningless because of this mod, so what's the point? Well, the reason is that it still gives me more defense than the silver armor I've been wearing, and I didn't have hardly any gold, so I might as well just use this. The goblin spawned soon after, which was great, and remember when I said this game has a counter? Well, it does, and while fighting the goblins, I was able to use this counter to reflect arrows directly back at the archer shooting me. This changes everything. Once again, I could reflect all kinds of projectiles right back at the enemies. Can I do this with Moonlord's laser? Can I do this to protect myself from Empress of Light? This changes everything. Yeah, I totally forgot to use the counter for the rest of the run, but that's pretty normal for me. Give me a game with the counters and I'll forget I have it until after I beat the game, and the same applies with this mod apparently. So if you want to find out if the counter works against these bosses, I'm afraid you'll have to do it yourself. Before I continued, I added a quality of life mod which doubles my mining speed. I also have Ore Excavator just to remove some of the grind of mining, so if it seems I'm going really fast as I make this elevator, it's because I am. Though I would actually encourage anyone who wants to try this mod to play it with the double mining speed. This mod really makes you want to move fast and, well, it's built so you can move fast, so making it so you can mine like a human drill actually fits in really well. I didn't make it all the way to the underworld, however, since I remembered I should probably fight Skeletron. I made it to the dungeon with maybe half of the night and failed to kill him before day came. So I did a little housekeeping and prep work and went off to fight Queen Bee. Now, I thought this might actually be a tough fight. Queen Bee doesn't tend to hang around a lot, so I wasn't sure I could do enough close range damage to recover my health. Well, she does one attack during which she stays pretty still, and this was more than enough to take her down without issue. Now it's night again, so we're going to take down Skeletron, who actually turned out to be the most difficult boss. Yes, it can be quite difficult getting to his head as he's shooting his skulls at you, and if you get trapped in his spinning attack, you can't out-heal the damage output. Making any semblance of an arena may have made this fight significantly easier, but why would I do something silly like that? I fiddled around in the dungeon until I got myself a Cobalt Shield and a Muramasa, and then headed out. Also, this is how fast I fall down my elevator. Speaking of which, I finished the elevator, looted the underworld a little, got some obsidian, returned to get some hellstone, and then booked it to the right side of the underworld to fight the Wall of Fresh. I'd picked up water walking potion before, and I'd never tried the water walking strategy against the Wall of Fresh before. I've always built a hell bridge, but I figured that this would be the single best time to try out this strategy. After all, this mod makes me want to go fast, so why do anything that would be slow? Also, a voodoo doll demon literally spawned at the exact moment I reached the place I wanted to summon the wall at. Thank you very much. Now, I didn't have any hopes that the Wall of Fresh would be much of a challenge, and it turns out that was well-founded. I even occasionally let the wall pass me just to see if it could kill me then, but I still out-healed any of the damage it could dish out. Goodbye, Wall of Fresh. You never stood a chance. A blood moon occurred just before the fight, and, well, now a bunch of werewolves and other enemies are ready to greet me at home, and despite my healing, these things were dealing too much damage to try and deal with. I smashed the altars in the Crimson and wow, look at that, I have adamantite armor now! No, I didn't cheat it. Do you really want to watch me mine some more? Well, there you go. Also, my hollow spawned in the jungle. Why does this keep happening to me? Before we fight the mechs, I want to remind you that I'm throwing 1 stick of dynamite at the end of the year for every subscriber I have. So if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe and claim your stick of dynamite today. Okay, destroyer time. There's no chance that a big worm boss with its many segments is going to stand any chance against me and my super healing, and, well, yeah, with an adamantite sword, I kind of just stood around during a blood moon and killed this thing. I did do a little dodging, thinking that the head might actually do enough damage to take me out, but even when it did get in a hit, I recovered easily. So I killed him again for the hollowed bars and crafted an Excalibur and almost a full set of hollowed armor. I usually would farm him again to get a full set, but it's not like the other mechs stand a chance against me anyways, right? I went to the underground hollow to grab some of the souls of light I would need to craft the other summons, and a Goblin Army spawned, gifting me with a Shadow Flame knife. I wasn't sure this would be very helpful since it's more of a ranged weapon than a close combat one, but at the same time, you can't always be up close and personal, so having this would be good for those situations. I got a little distracted after that, killing Queen Slime like the pushover she is, and then killing a Wyvern for the Souls of Flight, but since the second one wasn't spawning in the 5 seconds I waited, I gave up. Though it makes more sense than you might think. See, I haven't mentioned it yet, but the rocket boots I have don't actually lift me off the ground. At best, they let me hover like the magic carpet, or else they'll slow my momentum. Since this is how the boots worked, I figured that maybe the wings function the same way as well, and since I'd gotten pretty good at using the cloud in a balloon, I figured I'd just stick with that. Enough dilly-dallying, time to take down the rest of the mechs. And, well, Skeletron Prime's spinning head couldn't out-damage my healing. This was the case for Skeletron because I didn't have any knockback immunity, I guess, but I'm simply too powerful now. The twins were next on the list, and I thought they might actually finally break my undefeated streak. Their whole pattern relies heavily on staying away from the target with the occasional dash, and I wasn't sure that the occasional dash would be enough. As it would turn out, it kind of wasn't. During their first forms, they aren't the hardest things to dodge, so as long as you dodge for a little bit, you can recover your health once they do start dashing. Spaz became easier in second form because now he wants to be as close to you as you want to be to him. But then Retinator went to second form, and I started sweating. He doesn't charge you at all and keeps his distance. How am I supposed to outdamage him now? Well, this is when I learned that Ret actually slows down when he goes into his rapid fire phase. Maybe it's dumb that a 10-year veteran just noticed this, but whoever in their right mind ever waits until that fast laser phase to charge directly into Ret with reckless abandon. Usually, you try to dodge this by flying up, but with this mod, the best strategy was to do an immediate U-turn and charge Retinator when he begins this phase. This made the twins probably the most fun fight yet. I actually had to think a little differently in how I approached them, which was super cool, and I had high hopes for Duke Fishron, Lunatic Cultist, and Moonlord. Empress of Light could maybe be included on this list, but my hollow spawned in the jungle, and this was a fast run. Why would I waste my time making an artificial hollow biome for a prismatic lacewing? Don't be silly, why would I do that? Time to mine Chlorophyte and fight Plantera, and this double mining speed mod got a little ridiculous at this point because, yeah, I was mining super fast. Gotta admit though, it was awfully fun. Also, Chlorophyte was super sparse. Gotta assume it's because of how fast I'm moving between mechs to Plantera. I didn't even find a bulb after exploring a large portion of the jungle. If you don't know, you can sleep for a little bit, and this increases the likelihood of the bulb spawning. And turns out, I sleep standing up now. When I found a bulb, I mined it without hesitation and started the fight, but silly me, I forgot to make an arena. And the best time to make an arena would probably be in Plantera's second form. So let's just get him to second form, and there we go. Now let's get to clearing out these blocks so we can make an arena. Ah, yes, this is much better. Thanks for waiting me to make an arena. Oh, you're dead. Jungle Temple time! Since the dodge lets you reset your movement accessories, I was actually able to kind of hover, glide over the ground for the most part and just ignore the traps. There was one spot that nearly killed me though. Golem, of course, was a pushover. Now I just need a solar eclipse to make a Terra Blade if only one would spawn the very first night after Golem, exactly 10 seconds after beating him. Oh look, there it is. Nice. Although this actually turned into the most grindy part of the run. I fought the Eclipse for the entire day, and not a single Mothron spawned until the last hour or so, in-game hours, of course. Thankfully, the first Mothron dropped the Broken Hero's Blade, but that wasn't actually the best drop of the event. Rather, the Blood Butcherer Chainsaw was actually the best weapon I could have asked for. Not only was this weapon true melee and short enough that so long as I hit an enemy, it would heal me, it also has a super fast attack speed, meaning I could heal stupidly fast. The Terra Blade is great and all, but it's more of a ranged weapon. It's still good, but the chainsaw surpassed my limits like I were in some sort of anime. Anyways, I'm off to the ocean to kill a swimming pigfish. And yes, I actually built a little bit of an arena, but it wasn't to help beat him, but to actually create more light so you guys watching this could see him better. I thought this might be a tough fight, but it wasn't, so we're moving on. Also, a solar eclipse happened the next morning. Yes, this means I got 2 solar eclipses 2 days in a row immediately after taking down Plantera and Golem. Technically, only Plantera matters for the sake of getting Mothron to spawn during the eclipse, but I killed those 2 so close back to back, so whatever. Now, the cultist was another boss I was a little worried about since he's such a small target and flies around so much. Could I get close enough to consistently heal? Well, yes, but you can also intentionally spawn the dragon, which is an easy target for true melee, and that combined with the chainsaw that can bring me from 0 to full in seconds, the cultist was no match. I didn't have any real expectations for the pillars, but they weren't nearly as easy as I thought they might be. Stardust isn't too bad since the star cells are easy enough to farm for health, but they still got me pretty low at some points. Before I moved on to the pillars, I grabbed a black belt from the dungeon since I was basically running a dodging and invincibility build. I also got Mothron wings from the last eclipse, which I decided to actually use. Thing is, it's actually kind of nice not having wings. Resetting my movement didn't really give me my cloud in a bottle jump back, and that accessory gave me far more immediate momentum than the wings ever could. But I needed wings to more easily and more precisely move in the air for the coming Moonlord fight. The solar pillar went down easily, but it was the nebula pillar that actually put a stop to my rampage. I think this is the hardest pillar even in vanilla, and it's the same with this mod. Really, the best thing to do is to allow the brain sucklers to get you since you can easily farm them for health. The nebula pillar went down and Vortex was pretty easy. I crafted the solar eruption and daybreak before the coming battle though. The chainsaw is great, but I needed to ensure I could do damage from afar. All I had to do was release the eyes. Once his heart is vulnerable, it'd be all too easy. I tried my hardest during this fight, but Moonlord proved to be too much. The final boss was the first boss I lost to, and I wouldn't have it any other way. During that first fight, I learned a few things too. For one, I didn't have enough vertical speed to dodge the eye laser very easily. I'd have to get real close and dash in the opposite direction immediately after it fires. I also tried my chainsaw in the last fight, but it couldn't really get close enough to be effective. But if the chainsaw doesn't work, then I wasn't sure how any other weapon could. The first fight was a little sloppy, but I was pretty sure I knew what to do. I went to the jungle to farm for turtle shells, but they didn't spawn after 2 minutes, so I gave up. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I took down the cultist and the pillars again, only making a modest arena and altering the game plan in my head. Moonlord spawned, and I started throwing javelins at the top eye for some quick damage while dashing to the left to attack the left hand. But I was too slow. My strategy was already failing. I doubled back and played it close to the right hand successfully. A moon laser fired, but I used my dash to miraculously dodge it. Remember, my dash is also a dodge. It gives maybe a split second of immunity frame, so I couldn't rely on it, but it came in clutch that time. I bullied the left hand until the top one opened. I tried to get just high enough to leap over the laser, but came just short. Thankfully, it put me in close proximity to the right hand to recover my health, at which point, I used the extreme gravity to quickly fall back to the ground. I hit the left hand and was given a second shot at redemption to leap over the top eye's laser, and by a single pixel, I managed to do so, which brought me once again to the right hand. I continued this pattern, skillfully dodging over another laser before releasing the left and top eye. Only one more left and it was quickly dealt with. Now there was only the center, which is where the arena really came into play. I had to keep him from falling into the ground or else my chainsaw wouldn't be able to rip him to shreds. So carefully making sure not to fall, I stomped on the celestial deity's heart repeatedly as I tore him to shreds with a bloody chainsaw. And at last, Moonlord was conquered. Was this the most challenging mod ever? No. Though I have reached out to the developer and he's seen this video, so who knows what balance changes you could see in the near future. But even if you would call this too easy, this was incredibly fun. Honestly, some of the most fun I've had in Terraria in a long time. And that's saying something. I've been having a lot of fun in the game recently. But boy oh boy did this mod feel really good to try out. I would highly encourage you to try it out yourself. Link is in the description.